Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. We made it to May. I am Dave Biddle. Very happy to be joined by Matt Baxendell in just a moment. Before we get to that, I'll let you guys know about Omaha Steaks and this fantastic burger perfection flight that they have that I've been telling you guys about. These gourmet burgers that are just fantastic, the best burgers you'll have. Nothing says summer like the taste of a juicy, tender burger grilled to perfection. And nobody does burger perfection quite like Omaha Steaks. Right now, you can taste burger perfection for yourself with the Burger Perfection Flight. This exclusive package includes 20 of their mouth-watering steak burgers, 4 each of their pure ground filet mignon burgers, New York strip burgers, ribeye burgers, brisket burgers, and sirloin burgers. Omaha Steaks pure ground burgers deliver an explosive combination of tenderness, juiciness, and unmatched quality. And right now, you can experience the Burger Perfection Flight for just $79.99 when you go to omahasteaks.com. Get ready for grilling season with the Burger Perfection Flight for just $79.99 when you shop omahasteaks.com. That's 20 mouth-watering pure ground burgers for just $79.99. Check it out, my friends. That has some good stuff. If you like burgers, doesn't get better than that. All right. Doesn't get better than Matt Baxendell either. There's my guy. All right, now you're on mute right now, so let's get you off mute. We can't have you on mute. There we go.
Burgers too, Dave. Let me tell you.
It's like we were saying on Monday's show. I was like, it reminds me of Pulp Fiction. You know, it's the cornerstone of every healthy breakfast. Burgers. Big Kahuna Burger. That's that Hawaiian joint, huh? All right.
It's like a Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese. You know why they call it that? The metric system. Check out the big brains on Brad. And I was talking with Heater about this. We were texting. It's a crime that Samuel L. Jackson did not win. I usually don't give a crap about Academy Awards. It still bothers me to this day. I don't even know if he was even nominated. Samuel Jackson in Pulp Fiction not winning an Academy Award is a crime against humanity. And he played the Jules Winfield character perfectly. Perfectly. Anyway, let's just talk about Sam Jackson on the show today and why he's one of the best actors ever. Anyway.
We can't talk like him, though, because we'll just MF everything.
He's a bad what does his wallet say on it? It says BMF on it, except he spells it out or actually says it out. All right, so I wanted to do a bunch of series. We've hit the offseason full swing, and I wanted to do position breakdowns, on various shows. One position each show instead of just trying to inundate everybody with everything. Really get into the weeds. And I thought we'd start with the glamour position for the Buckeyes, as we all know, tight end. Okay, little joke there. We are going to start with tight end. We're going to start with the marquee position of tight end and break it down. But I am curious about this because it's an important part of the offense. It really is. And they're losing a good one in Kate Stover. I like this group as a whole. That's 5. Right now I think the depth chart, G. Scott Jr. is clearly ahead of the depth chart, but these guys all complement each other well. They do different things. So G's the number one guy, and I think then, Will Kacmarek's in there, the transfer from OU. Jelani Thurman, stock on the rise. No one's got a higher ceiling than him, literally and figuratively in that room. Bennett Christian coming off the year suspension. He had a good spring. And then Patrick Gurd's the guy. Current walk-on, might not be a walk-on for much longer. I think they're going to bump him up. So before we get to how much 12 personnel Chip Kelly's going to use, just your thoughts on those 5 guys. Just kind of what do you expect from those guys? Who are you the most bullish on in that group? And you can name more than one guy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, and there's nothing more Bucknut-y than going into depth on the 4th string tight end. But that's I'm happy to do it. Let's do it, baby. First of all, I think Gurd's going to play a de facto fullback whenever you have a situation where they call for that. Essentially, nobody recruits pure fullbacks anymore. Aram Olsen isn't walking through the door here for Ohio State anytime soon.
Oh, well, that's a blast from the past. Whoa.
That's right. That's right.
Brandon Schnitker is not walking through that door.
No, he is not.
Brandon Joe is not what. Brandon Joe is kind of a tailback though too. Man, we're just
Brandon Joe could do both.
Nikki Sualua, you're telling me Nikki Sualua is not walking through that door? Oh baby, Scotty Graham's not walking through that door.
You brought up Scotty Graham on here, man. We're getting down.
You can't get me Jamar Martin walking through that door. Okay, I'll stop. Pete Johnson. Okay, now I'll stop.
Come on. Pete Johnson's a 70s fullback.
All right. Okay, Jamar Martin was still maybe the best Ohio State fullback that we've seen in a long time. That last Tressel's first season, you got Jamar Martin in there. If he didn't get hurt, he would have. I mean, the Cowboys still drafted him like in the 4th round. He was a fullback. If he didn't get hurt, I think he would have had a long NFL career. Anyway, go ahead.
It tells you how much this game has changed, by the way. We're talking about fullbacks being drafted in the 4th round.
Right.
So, yeah, but I think Gurd's going to be that guy, to put it lightly. It seems like Ohio State's strategy involving fullbacks has been for a long time now that we're going to bring in a guy who's a walk-on who essentially fills that role in that earns it. So that's kind of where my view on him is. Obviously, G. Scott is the guy who's going to be on a fair amount. He's probably the number 1 pass receiving option. And then I still have to pronounce this guy's name. Is it Kacmarek? Kacmarek?
I think it's Kacmarek.
Kacmarek?
I believe it's Kacmarek. I like
call him Polish Will. It'll be easier. He would be Woody Hayes' favorite player. Woody Hayes loved tight ends with long, unpronounceable Polish names. So, at the end of the day, he's going to be probably your most mature blocker of the group, I think, right now. That he's a guy that they'll have on. If they go to 12 personnel and it's going to be an obvious run situation, I could see him being on the field a lot. Jelani Thurman's the wild card here because, G. Scott's a guy who's worked hard, has developed his game, has become a legitimate receiving option in the passing game from tight end. Jelani Thurman's a guy that if he can show that he has the ability to be that guy who can block, the receiving side of Jelani Thurman is scary. He's one of those guys that's a matchup nightmare. So the big question is going to be, has he developed to the point that OSU can be able to trust him to use him a lot? Because I think there's a lot to be said there on him. I think that those are the 4 that are going to see the field more. I think Bennett Christian's still working his way upwards, like you said, after not playing last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. I think the bigger question, though, is how many opportunities are you going to have for there to get 3-4 of these guys on the field during the course of a game whenever you have so many wide receivers that need options on the field too. You can't just go out and run 3 tight ends out like you're Michigan or anything, not with the talent Ohio State has.
I love that we're getting Bob Ferguson shout outs, the best fullback in Ohio State history. Pete Johnson's going to be mad that we're but I mean, if you, I didn't realize this is Chris. I trust Chris on YouTube saying this. Bob was never tackled for a loss in college and was 2nd for the Heisman one year. Yeah, that's tough to beat right there. Bob Ferguson, legend. That's
a stat.
A whole season with no tackles for not get stuffed
as
once.
The fullback, right? Like how many times do you get hit as you're getting the ball because somebody messes up something and you still drag a guy to the line? That's impressive.
And you finish 2nd in the Heisman. Love it. Absolutely love it. Good work out of you, Chris. You're hired as one of our free consultants. Chris is like, I'm good. I don't need to be a free consultant. Yeah, I like this group. It's a superstar group. No, but I think collectively I like this group. The parts fit. As you mentioned, Patrick Gurd's like the fullback of the group. G. Scott Jr. is like the definitely the most talented wider receiver in the group because of his days being one of the top 10 wide receiver recruits in the country coming out of high school.
Yes.
Jelani Thurman is exactly what you think of if you think of, this kid could be a 1st-round NFL draft pick, which is really tough to do as a tight end or 2nd round. I also think, the Cade Stover effect has really helped. Jelani talked about that. Cade broke the streak of no Ohio State tie. Whoever thought it was going to be Cade? We thought it was going to be Jeremy Ruckert would be the one to break that string of no Ohio State tight ends reaching 30 receptions. Cade did it in 2022, then came back this past year backs and had over 40 catches. So that's helped. I think that was one of the reasons.
That guy too.
What's that?
Think of all the names we thought were going to finally do it. I mean, remember Jake Stoneburner was one we were sure was going to get to 30.
Yep.
And that's a big deal. Yeah, absolutely. Nick Vanette played in the NFL for 8 years and didn't catch 30 balls in a season at OSU. Like, it's crazy all the guys that we've had here. And that's finally Cade Stover is the first one since Hartsock to break that 30 catch number. I mean, think about it. I mean, how many guys that came through OSU? We were sure. Louis Irizarry, remember him? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. Even Luke Farrell. I mean, think about like some of the since and Jake Stoneburner played in the NFL too. So Jake Stoneburner played in the NFL. Let's say since then. Okay, so Stoneburner played. Then Hireman was a 3rd round pick. Vanette, 3rd round pick. Both those guys were on the national championship team. Hireman got banged up in the playoffs, but Vanette actually took over as a starter. But both those guys helped win the national championship. both
Yep.
third-round picks. Farrell, first pick of the 5th round.
Yep.
Rucker, 3rd-round pick. Now Stover, 4th-round pick. That's a pretty damn good lineage for, like, I joked earlier, it's the marquee position. I tell you what, it's been one after another that gets drafted. So we'll see what happens. I do like this group. All right, Chip Kelly and 12 personnel. He's going to be creative. He likes to mix in some 12 personnel. They're not going to major in it, but they're going to have sometimes out there Patrick Gurd playing that fullback role with G. Scott out there as that, inline tight end, or that flex tight end. There's going to have times and they're going to get a little bigger out there. Maybe have Bennett Christian out there, Will Kacmarek out there a lot. We'll see about it. But I think the parts fit pretty good, like I said. How much 12 personnel are you expecting from Chip Kelly? And just give me your thoughts on that, if you would, please, sir.
That's going to be fascinating to see, because I think, Ryan Day has talked about this being a little bit of a Chip Kelly offense this year. Chip Kelly likes 12 personnel. He likes motion to set up that second tight end. That might be a spot where Gurd may line up and as a fullback and then go into motion as that tight end along the side. I think it's going to be very interesting, though, because Ryan Day has always been the guy who loves having 3 receivers on the field at all points in times. Look at the talent we have at wide receiver. I don't have to get into that right now. Everybody knows how much there is. But if we're going to be a team that runs the football, if we're going to be a team that is actually able to get those tough yards, that 12 personnel might be a huge part of that. So I think we're going to see more 12 personnel than people realize. And to me, that's going to be incumbent on these guys to be able to do their job, the block. And we saw this numerous times throughout Ohio State history. We just talked about Hireman and Vanette. How many times did Urban Meyer have the 2 of them on the field together? It was a lot. And Ohio State was dominating in the run game. When you have 2 running backs at the caliber that OSU has with Henderson and Judkins, you're going to want to take advantage of it. So I think it's going to be more than people realize. And especially with a guy like Gurd, who's sort of flexible in how he can line up, you're going to maybe see them, kind of do some different stuff in the running game this year. I'm very excited to see it, what they can do this year. And I think it'll be more 12 personnel than most people are expecting, Dave.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. So solid group. We'll see how much Chip Kelly and Coach Bailey can get out of these guys. I think it's a solid 5-man group, and there's going to be more than 5. They're bringing in, Sam LeBlanc, I believe, is because the kid from Witten, they're going to start off at wide receiver, I'm told. Witten was listed as a tight end in the recruiting rankings, but they think he can be a big wide receiver. So we'll see. He could grow into a tight end. So
do we need more wide receivers? I assume Demarion Witten's going to be a tight end at OSU.
People that have watched him, I do a show here in Columbus, and our producer is really into high school football, and he said he watched him. He said, I think this kid's going to be a really good wide receiver at Ohio State. I'm like, okay. Shout out to Ryan Baker there for giving us the scouting report there. We'll see, though. That doesn't mean he's going to be right, because he's already a big boy. Yeah. Max LeBlanc's coming in. Yeah. Oh, I said Sam LeBlanc. My bad. I'm getting Sam Hart and Max LeBlanc. What's hilarious is I've talked about this before. I have a friend that I go back to high school with named Adrian LeBlanc, who's a diehard Michigan fan. Other than that, good guy. Other than that, good guy.
That's quite the caveat.
He was a tight end in high school for our football team. His son's a tight end, same high school, Beaver Creek. And now we're getting a tight end named LeBlanc at Ohio State. Now it's hilarious to me. It's hilarious.
Do they speak French like our Max LeBlanc does?
Adrian LeBlanc, Michigan fan, but other than that, a good man.
Je déteste the Michigan. Ce n'est pas bien.
All right. Yeah. So, all right, let's get into the dust we think has settled in the portal. I think maybe some guys can still enter till maybe 5 o'clock today, but I think the dust is settled. The portal 6 as we know it for Ohio State. So Dallan Hayden was the first one. He's going to Colorado. I'll be rooting for him then. Hopefully Dion can get some. They've gotten some offensive linemen in the portal. We get Dion, he's going to get his son killed, and he's going to get Dallan killed if they don't beef up the offensive line. But I don't understand why he doesn't beef up that offensive line. I mean, your son's playing quarterback anyway. Hawkins, the safety, Carter, the safety, Vamahi. None of these guys are surprises. Nigel Glover yesterday and Keon Grays. Those are your final entries. We basically opined that Carter and Vamahi seemed obvious, unless they just didn't want to play. Cojo Anwi is the last man standing from that 2022 wide receiver class now that Keon Grays is gone. Obviously, Caleb Burton had already left, and then Caleb Brown had already left. But backs, 6 guys. I wish them all well. All of those guys are nice young men. I'll be rooting for them. But, I mean, no big losses for Ohio State. I guess unless Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson get hurt, then we might be saying, oh, crap, it'd be really nice to have Dallan Hayden. But no big losses. If your number 3 tailback's the big loss, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think a lot of these were sort of obvious. Jahad Carter was a guy when he was at Syracuse was like second team all ACC, something like that. Yeah. So I think the transition to Ohio State maybe didn't work out the way he was hoping in terms of getting on the field because he really didn't a lot. Then he got hurt. Though I was really hoping we'd hold on to him again. You're talking about depth. What is OSU down to now? Is it 80 scholarship guys, 81 scholarship guys?
I have him at 82, but that doesn't include – well, maybe it's 81 now. That doesn't include the punter. I think including the punter, that'll put him at 82, I think. And then Gurd basically told me he's going to be on scholarship. I'm like, I was asking him about that, and I'm like, forgive me if this has already been out there. I said, but are you still a walk-on, or have you been bumped up to scholarship? And he gave me this smile, and he said, I maybe ask me that in a couple of months, something like that. You could tell. I was like, oh, that sounds like good news. So Gurd would probably put him at 83. I think TC Caffey is 84, and then we'll see. Maybe they have room for there's nobody in the portal that's somebody was saying somebody from UCLA.
The UCLA guy, yeah, but he gave up a ton of pressures last year.
I was going to say, do we think he's better than Josh Fryer or Josh Simmons? I don't. What are you going to do? Bring in? And is he being better than Tegra? I don't know. Maybe he's better than George Fitzpatrick, and he's willing to come here and be a 2-deep guy. But I that's not what we've been talking about. Finding a tackle in the portal is tough sledding this year, baby.
Yeah, tough it is. Sledding. That NIL papers has kept some kids at home, but it is what it is there. I think though, so let's assume we're going to be, somewhere near full scholarship with some walk-on guys getting opportunities. That's fine. So Carter left. I think he's going to go somewhere where he thinks he's going to get a chance to see the field, which is totally fine. I mean, the guy is an all ACC level player. So somebody will snap him up. Vamahi, I mean, he's in like year 6. If he wanted to play, it wasn't going to be here. So best of luck to him. And then the others, I can tell you right now, the common fan doesn't even know who they are, right? Like at the end of the day, like not to be mean about it, but those guys just never got close to the field. So those are people who are leaving looking for playing time. That's just how the portal works. So, is it a little bit of a hit on some depth in some spots? Sure. But it's almost not really immediate depth. I think Jahad Carter's the only one of them I could have seen sneaking into some playing time this year. And that would only be in wrap-up minutes after the top safeties come off. So if those guys get hurt, there's other options on board. So it is what it is. And as for Cojo Anwi being the only receiver left from 2022, unless he enters the portal now too, at the end of the day, Ohio State's been recruiting receivers at such a level that I don't think I'm ever going to be worried about the depth at wide receiver here as long as Brian Hartline's around. I mean, it's what happens sometimes whenever you bring in absolutely sterling classes that some people are going to get recruited over. And that's clearly what's just happened with that group. And then, best of luck to them. They had talent. They'll go somewhere and play. And, I think that's at the end of the day what the whole purpose of the portal is that some of these guys that are at the bottom of the depth chart at a place like Ohio State, they could go somewhere like all these guys, by the way, outside of maybe Vamahi. If they called Iowa would be like, yes, just for example. So it's not like there isn't talent here. It's just guys that aren't seeing the field at Ohio State because the talent level at Ohio State is so through the roof.
Maybe with Dallan Hayden already there, I don't know if they were friends. Vamahi might be a good fit at Colorado. They need offensive linemen. I mean, Vamahi obviously got his butt kicked throughout that Cotton Bowl. I felt like that was them throwing a fifth-year senior a bone, knowing he might transfer. That's why he got the start, not maybe a young guy like Luke Montgomery that could have used the reps, but whatever. The coaches just didn't really care about the Cotton Bowl. They made that pretty damn obvious. And he had a bunch of guys that, just didn't play. But, Buckeyes escape with no big losses, we think. Real quick on Cojo Anwi, I want to touch this. Then I'm going to ask you if you're surprised that no quarterbacks entered the portal yet. Again, I still think they can today. So maybe as we're doing the show, someone's going to enter the portal, but we'll get to quarterbacks in a second. I do want to address this. Brass tacks. He's saying I'm surprised Cojo didn't enter the portal. Brass tacks on YouTube. if you're just looking at it from a wide receiver perspective, I get it. It would take a lot of injuries for Cojo to see the field a lot. But keep in mind, I mean, special teams are important. And Cojo is a stalwart on special teams. He's one of their key cogs on special teams. I think he's even going to have a bigger role in special teams now entering his third year. So he's a guy they used a decent amount when he was a true freshman on special teams. Used him a lot last year. I think they might use him in even more. Tough guy, can run, I think that's hopefully Cojo sticks around because special teams are important. Bax, are you surprised that again, assuming this actually materializes, are you surprised none of the Buckeye quarterbacks entered the portal?
Well, I think that I'm not necessarily surprised. I think there was a plan. I think there was a lot of good communication when Julian Sayin came in. And I think all the younger guys, 3 younger guys, are looking at next spring as the spring that's going to be their deciders here, particularly Lincoln Keenholz, because he's got 2 younger guys behind him. And next spring, I think if Will Howard wins the job and you're not hard in the mix for a starter's role after spring practice next year, then you're going to see somebody in the portal. I think at the end of the day, there was a little bit of expectation that maybe around Keenholz just because of the Iowa kind of noise that was going on out there.
Yes.
But yeah, exactly. Noise. But at the end of the day, I'm not surprised that nobody from the quarterbacks went into the portal. As for Cojo Anwi, I am a little bit surprised, I'll be honest, because I know he's a stalwart special teams guy, right? But I don't think he came to OSU thinking it was going to be just a special teamer, right?
Probably not. No.
And I watched him in the spring game, and every time he caught a ball, it seemed like his head was like down a little bit. The body language wasn't superb from him. I remember like vivid. I wasn't going to talk about it, but now that we're having this conversation, like I remember thinking, man, that kid looks like he's like kind of like mentally like bleep this, right? And he was running with the second, third, fourth string guys, and I'm glad he's staying because we need him on special teams. But I am a little surprised that Kojo's not in the portal, and maybe he will end up there before the end of the day. I hope he doesn't. But he was one that I had circled like as like everybody has their little bingo card of who they think might transfer. I had him immediately circled watching the spring game, going, man, he doesn't look too enthusiastic right now about his spot.
Yeah, hopefully he sticks around because as we're saying, special teams. I mean, we can't ignore special teams, but yeah. The coach. Now he wasn't a huge. He got. I think initially Cojo was like a 3-star guy, got bumped up to a 4-star. Another kid from Georgia. Love these kids from Georgia. Love recruits from like Georgia, Florida, Texas. The level of competition. We ain't worried about that. There's a reason that those states just produce so much talent. So, but yeah, you're right. Even though he ended up being a 4-star, he didn't come to Ohio State to be a special teams demon, but maybe they're talking him into, hey, maybe next year you'll be in the wide receiver rotation. It won't be, but hopefully he sticks around.
Sure, you can believe that all you want. But they're doing in recruiting wide receivers, and then get back to me.
We're going to finish the show answering a couple of your guys' questions. Before we do that, I want to let you guys know about nuts.com. Love nuts.com. The latest kick on. You guys know I love the almonds, but I'm almost out of the almonds. So my latest kick are these bourbon pecans. We go pecans or pecans? I go pecans, Bax, but pecans. Now, a little early in the morning for bourbon, but okay, these are alcohol-free. Bourbon pecans, as far as I know they are. And I think I'm pretty sure it's alcohol-free because my daughters have also been eating them. My oldest daughter loves them. My 16-year-old can't get enough of them. So, I mean, nuts.com, they've got like a million different things. You guys got to check out the website. If you're a snacker and haven't heard of nuts.com, listen up. Of course, they have an amazing variety of nuts, but that's not all. They offer over 50 varieties of trail mix, tons of flavored popcorn choices, energy squares, fruit leather, bunch of different candies, chocolate covered pretzels. I mean, check it out. They've got a little bit of everything. It's such a cool company.
What is fruit leather, Dave?
I don't know. I just read this. My wife likes is that like the dried apricots? Because we got one of those that she really likes, the dried apricots. This might be something different. Fruit leather. I've never heard
that.
That
was my guess. It was like dried fruit, but yeah fruit leather is a new one for me.
And my wife loves the dried apricots. So there you go. I mean, I might have one of these bourbon pecans right now. No, better not. Okay. Right now, nuts.com is offering new customers a free gift with purchase and free shipping on orders of $29 or more at nuts.com/bucknuts. So go check out all the delicious options at nuts.com/bucknuts. You'll receive a free gift and free shipping when you spend $29 or more. That's nuts.com/bucknuts. So there you go. Free shipping and you get a free gift, $29 or more. Bam. All right. Let's get to a few of your questions here. All right. I love it. Rich, people ask about this. Backs, people love the gray sleeve. I'm with it. Richie's asking, what do we have to do to get the gray back on the home jersey sleeves? Keep talking about it. That's what we got to do because they do listen sometimes.
They put them back on very briefly to win a national title 10 years ago. And then they took them right back off because they're like, now let's go back to looking like Wisconsin. This has been a personal pet peeve of mine for a very long time. It's scarlet and gray, not red and white. So put the gray pants back on, put the gray piping back on the sleeves, and let's get back to having the best jerseys in college football. I agree completely.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. See, we've got Mrs. Sanchez in the house. Always good seeing Mrs. Sanchez, the mother of the number one corner in the country, Devin Sanchez. Love it. All right, let's get some more of your questions before we end the show here. I've got a meeting I've got to get to in about 5 minutes or so. Let's get to this one. Isn't TC Caffey on academic scholarship, asks Larry on YouTube. I don't know about that. I'll find that out, but I think it's almost, even if he is, because I know he's a really smart dude, even if he is, it's just something about you want to be like on the athletic scholarship.
There's practical stuff. There's practical stuff to an athletic scholarship that's more important than being on academic scholarship. And that's things like access to training table. For example, you can't, like, if you look at the walk-on guys, right? They would historically have never been able to have access to the team training table, et cetera, that sort of thing. So being on scholarship allows you access to some of those other things that maybe you wouldn't be able to have under the old NCAA rules. Now, maybe that's changed. I hope it did, because that was a stupid rule.
I want to say now walk-ons can go and get as much food as they want. I think I'd have to check on that. It's so funny thing, and it wasn't even that long ago where and I've talked about this a lot. Like it wasn't even that long ago where like guys could only have a bagel at certain times because if you put cream cheese on it, or if you put cream cheese on the bagel, it was a meal. But if you didn't put cream cheese on it, it was a snack, so you could have it any time. But you only could have like the one meal or two, however they did it. It was just, and that was like what, 15 years ago? It wasn't even that long ago.
No, it was like the training table thing was like 5 years ago. I remember we had this conversation. So if that has been changed, that's a huge thing, because think about it. If you're not on scholarship, then you're not able to eat the same level. And we all know how important it is eating wise to be able to build yourself up over the course of a college career into a high-end football player. I mean, you're adding a lot of muscle on. That's your armor out there. So if that's the case, then I'm glad that rule has changed. But that was always, to me, the biggest practical impact of being on scholarship versus a walk-on was the food aspect.
Let's get to this one. Eric on the Book of Face. Why do we still not pursue any offensive linemen? I'm assuming he means in the portal. Is it a problem with Justin Fry? Well, the problem is ain't no good offensive lineman in the portal. That's what I'm seeing. I look at the portal, I'm like, ugh, that's the top-rated guy? Ugh, I don't see anybody that's an upgrade to the projected starting tackles for the Buckeyes. And furthermore, my friends, as I've said, I don't see necessarily a guy that would be an upgrade to any of the backups. Second-string guys, I mean. I don't see
the only guy in the portal the whole year that we would have really wanted was Caden Proctor. And after that, it's a massive drop-off, and Proctor was never a possibility.
Yep. All right. Was there one more I was going to get to? I can't remember. I thought there was maybe one more.
Give the people what they want, Dave.
I'm trying to find it, man. I'm trying to find it.
Oh, what's that? How much does Michigan suck? A lot. We all agree.
That's why I was like, oh, that's why I just read that one. No, same guy, but another question. Eric, you're getting two questions from the Book of Face. Are you guys worried about Naheem Offord flipping and not staying a Buckeye? I'm not worried about it. Are you worried about it, Bax?
I think that's more of that pointless online chatter right now. The reality is, look, the guys OSU recruits are always going to continue to be recruited by everyone else. Look what happened with Jeremiah Smith even after he announced on signing day, they had to make sure that everything was the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and everybody else is still blowing him up, trying to get him to change his mind. The reason for that is that Ohio State recruits some of the most desirable football players in the country every year. But there's nothing specifically about Offord that makes me go, oh no, we're going to lose him. So yeah, that's just a byproduct of recruiting the elite players. Everybody wants them, and everybody keeps chasing them.
Great stuff from the People's Champ, Matt Baxendell. You can read his award-winning column every Sunday on Bucknuts. It is The Bucket. Thank you very much to Bax. Thanks to all of you. Really appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Go Bucks.